ago this morning from the Australasia First Alliance Coalition. Australia First Alliance Coalition was spoken by Dr. William Bay. Michael O'Neill did most of the talking, and Michael Griffiths, which I know, was involved. What you say, I don't agree, and I don't agree out of stupidity. I don't agree because what you're saying can't work and stay inside the law. I know people think you can step outside the law and run political parties, but you must comprehend the fact that political parties were disallowed by the framers of the Constitution. Now, the framers of the Constitution put together a draft copy, took it to England, to Queen Victoria, and come back with this, the Commonwealth Constitution Act, 1900 UK, which was proclaimed on the 9th of July 1900 by Queen Victoria. Now, putting this into context so people will comprehend what I'm saying, so you can comprehend what I'm saying, I don't agree because you need to, and I say this with respect, you need to read this. This is the annotated Constitution. And I suggest you start at page 1. And it's a lengthy read, but I read it the other day, over the weekend, in answer to a gentleman who wanted to know what was going on, and a couple of questions, and a lady who had a lot of questions. Now, you need to read page 1 to 260. And I say that with respect because I'm not attacking you three. I know who you are. I know all of the teachings of Barbara O'Neill and her husband, and I respect all those things. This is not an attack on these people. It is straight out explaining to you the facts of our Constitution. We have one. It is a binding document. It sets the parameters as how we wish to be governed. It was decided over 10 years, and it's all contained in page 1 through 260. Now, I'm not going to go in great detail what it says, but it actually knocks out the very idea of preferential voting and political parties and a lot of other things, and it explains clearly why Western Australia never went in originally into federation. It went in when federation was declared. It never stepped outside that because what was decided, they had to sort out the problems in England and Australia in relation to what John Forrest brought up. John Forrest found 4 issues that were serious in the eyes of the people of Western Australia. You've got to understand there were 6 colonies, or were there? No, there were 7. New Zealand was one of those colonies. Every single colony was given the chance to join at federation. New Zealand did nothing about it. The other states did. 5 of the states cleared up everything, and after several arguments, all those arguments are in those 260 pages. It's a lot of reading. It's clear. It's precise. And at the end of it, before the proclamation of the Constitution, Western Australia was given a proclamation ordering it into federation, and it went in as an original state. Now, you can come up with all sorts of stories, but having said that, go to the Church of England office, which is now the Anglican office, St George's Terrace, Perth, and it's on the wall. I believe it's upstairs now. It was moved up there. That is a proclamation stating that Western Australia will go into federation. And it did, which, to meet the requirements of the Constitution, required that all 6 states had to retain their Constitution subject to the Commonwealth Constitution. It states that, and altered in accordance with the Constitution. Queen Victoria was smarter than the average bear, didn't take kindly to the garbage being put out by the people pushing for political parties and all the rest of the nonsense, put in 9 clauses for a reason. To make sure that her will and the will of the superior parliament, being the British Parliament, would be complied with. Everything that's been done since has been done by political parties to remove, Anthony Andrews, I don't care what McGowan proclaimed, it's a nonsense, and I don't want to know about it. This is what we need to know, and the people need to know. Sorry, I'm not insulting you. We need to know what took place. Yeah, just forget all of that, because it has nothing to do with what I'm discussing. Why the election went the way it was is because of party politics and preferential voting. I know you don't seem to think that way, you 3 people, but, and without getting in your face and saying you're wrong, you cannot have a political party or any part of it and go and have a lawful parliament. Your allegiance, whether by oath or otherwise, is to your political party and its ideals. You can say it's not, but just stop and think about what you're teaching. What you're saying is not correct. Read those 260 pages in the red Constitution. You'll come out with a very different point of view and the authority of the Constitution and what our framers put together. That is a lawful document of the Hansard or the public record of what they wanted, how they interpreted it, and where they pulled all these pieces of law to make our Constitution one of the best in the world. The political parties and donkeys like our so-called Prime Minister and dodgy Roger Cook and all the rest of them, they have no idea what is at stake here. They want what they want. They want a republic. The Labor Party in Western Australia, created another entity known as the state, unknown to the Constitution, and by doing so removed all reference to the Crown out of our law. Then they went one further and they removed the oath of allegiance from the state constitution they put in place, with 32 sections missing. So purposely they could do away with the Crown in this state. You do away with the Crown, you do away with the only authority that controls the Parliament. You see, the Crown, it's a crown in right of the people, not the Parliament like the Parliament would like you have you believe. The people have no controls on them. No controls except the common law of England. That's why they brought in the Statute of Westminster and backdated it in 1931. It was invalid the second they did it. In 1972-73, when Gough Whitlam put it through 300-odd acts and backdated the Immigration Act, it's all nonsense. People have to be naturalised into the British Empire to live in this country, not made citizens of the Australian government, which is what they've done. It's all lies. Every single thing is lies. As a result of what I'm telling you, I've known this for a long, long time. I've been reading the Constitution inside out for a reason. That's why I produced this letter. This is not a refusal to vote. I understand everything you've said is you don't want people to refuse to vote. You're giving up a right. You are, by putting this in, claiming a right. I didn't put it out as a joke. There is one lawful, straight question of law on this piece of paper. I didn't explain it in great detail, simply I didn't have enough time. But the letter is, I, Wayne Kenneth of the Family Glue, attended at your polling booth to vote on the 8th of March 2025. I attended there to do exactly that. But I'd already realised and know the big problem we have is we don't have any lawful candidates if they belong to political parties. Unfortunately, that includes you three if you think that way. Read the first 260 pages, you'll know political parties have no authority in this country. Why? Because the framers decided that was not the right way to go, where the people would be sovereign and supreme. Am I correct? Yes. Because the first convention in relation to the Constitution in 1890, Sir Samuel Griffiths and Sir Isaac Isaacs and all the other people there contended straight away that all semblance of supremacy and sovereignty would be and the ability to change state constitutions would be removed from the parliaments at Federation. Interesting, read it and weep. It's there. If not in the front of this book, it is there in the documents from the convention. Even Anne Toomey pointed over her left shoulder in one of her videos and said these books are a record of what took place at those conventions. Yes, but you didn't say it was a public record, which is binding, because it's a Hansard of how they come about it so we would understand it, because you didn't want that. You come back and you've said the green constitution is exactly the same as the red one. That's a nonsense. Absolute lie. I don't know who put it in your head, but you are sprouting it. You need to change it. And I suggest you read the first 260 pages and then read the rest of it. You'll comprehend exactly the interpretation of the Constitution by the framers and their intentions, how we would control the Parliament through our Constitution. That's exactly what it is. It's a control on the Parliament. It's the parameters set by the people as how we will be governed. Not how you think, not how anyone else thinks, but how every individual person at present, all 27 million of us. There are no lawful courts in this country, not one. We know about a lot of things that have gone wrong and are criminal in this country, and we can put the finger on every person who has pulled it. Why? Because we've looked, and we've looked in the places where you can't look, unfortunately, and people don't want to listen. When you say, oh no, they wouldn't do that. They got so blinded by the nonsense of how nice politicians are. I can walk up to half the politicians in this town, or most of them, and say hello, talk to them. They know I don't think the way they do, so what? But being a human being, you don't have to hate them. You don't have to like them, but you have to respect them. And that's a problem we have. And out of respect, I'm doing this video today, because I'll read the rest of it. After saying I attended at your polling booth to vote on the 8th of March 2025, I couldn't vote. There were no lawful candidates available for me to vote for at your polling booth. And is that the question? No. It's not a question, it's a statement of fact. Because if you belong to a political party, you cannot be a candidate. What says so? The first 260 pages of our Constitution, decided by our representatives, the people who put the Constitution together, documented. It's not just a book, Anne Toomey. It was documented by Dr. John Quick and Sir Robert Garran. Don't believe me? Read it. It's all there. Every single bit. Put together with it the letters patent for the office of governor for each state. The advice and instructions to each governor of each state. Put together under 106 every state constitution in its original form, made letters patent on the 29th of October 1900. Fact. Put together the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK, made letters patent on the same date. Under Clause 7, the Constitution Alteration Act of Western Australia, it goes in the bin, in compliance with what Sir Isaac Isaacs and Sir Samuel Griffiths said at the beginning. At Federation it ceased to exist. It's all garbage. Transfer of Land Act, garbage. Police Act, garbage. Why? Read section 51, subsection 38 in the Red Book, and it explains clearly there was no authority for a federal parliament at federation under that section. But even if that wasn't so, there were only 7 legislative areas ever exercisable by the Australasian Council, and even less by the colonies. And every single one is contained in section 51 of this Constitution. Where was the authority over land? You didn't have any. Where was the authority to issue titles? You don't have any. Where was the authority to take possession of the land on behalf of the Crown? You don't have any. It was never granted to any parliament in this country. Never. How do we know that? The 1923 case, which is New South Wales versus the Commonwealth, where New South Wales wanted to tax the land. They were told clearly, Chalice Real Property, 3rd edition, the definition of fee simple, go away, clowns. Who messed that up a little bit? Governor Torrens in South Australia, who first brought out the Torrens titles so he could control and own the land. He couldn't do it. There was no authority. Go back to section 5138 in the annotated Constitution. It clearly explains you got no rights. You cannot tax land. No land tax, no rates, which is a tax. Your tolls, your licenses, they're all taxes. How you people are so thick, you think you drive down a highway which your taxes paid for, or should have. Look at the amount of fuel tax. Over half of the value of every drop of fuel you buy is tax, to the tune of trillions of dollars a year. Why do we have to drive on a road? Oh, a company loaned the money to the government. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Because they're too stupid to look at how the first railway was put through, and that's in the first 260 pages of our Red Constitution. It is ours. It's a Hansard of how our Constitution came about. Read the 9 clauses to the Constitution. You'll find out a lot of information. You need to sit down. Yeah, Mick, people are happy being slaves to the political parties. Now, the question of law contained in this little letter, very simple letter. I attended your polling booth, the date, the 8th of March 2025. I attended there. There were no lawful candidates available for me to vote for at your polling booth for the reasons I've explained. And the question of law is, why not? I cannot vote until you answer that question. Have I refused to vote? No. Do I agree with what you're saying people shouldn't refuse to vote? I agree. But don't sign your name off. That is not voting. That's contracting to their garbage and their lies, their fraud. You need to understand the 2 words, which is a question of law. You want an answer. Why? Because the Parliament's not sovereign, is not supreme. The supreme, absolute and uncontrollable authority remains with us, the people. Comprehend what I'm saying. The only question they have to answer, and they must answer it, why not? Why don't we have lawful candidates? Simple, because the political parties put something in place which was kicked out prior to federation in all the debates from the constitutional conventions. It's in the 260 pages. Read it and weep, but that's it. And no, I don't have any ill feelings to you 3 people. You are, in my book, legends in your own right, not mine, in your own right, for the things you've done to contribute to this country. All I'm telling you is what you're saying is incorrect in you shouldn't vote until they put lawful candidates there. Till they answer the question, why not? Why don't we have them? Why not? The only lawful question that still stands unanswered. Until then, to you, doesn't matter that they use some idiot from another country, an idiot company, to do the polling. They shouldn't. It had to be done under the authority of the governor through the public service. Comprehend our Constitution. That's the only way. Anything else is unlawful. So your little election you call an election was a fraud. Absolute fraud on the people of this state. Now you think with your big smiles, Dodgy Roger, you are an absolute traitor and a flea bag in this country. You should be removed. To where, I don't know, preferably the South Pole. Maybe freezing that brain of yours might come back thawed out with something in it, other than water. Anyway, I've said what I got to say. Read what I'm telling you to read and you will comprehend. Martin Taylor, where relevant, please explain the source of government income for community service where taxes don't exist. Well, Martin Taylor, that's not the subject matter. Stop trying to change it. Sorry, I'm not disrespecting you. I brought this up specifically, and if you read all of the Constitution, especially 51 subsection 2, and you will find out exactly where the answer to your question. It's right there. Government income for community services where taxes don't exist. Don't dream. The only taxes that are not existing are the ones on companies that should be paying tax. They're not. And as for the resources of this country that have been given away to foreign interests, they can't own or receive any of that without you putting it to the people. Don't tell me you can. Yeah, okay, you're welcome, Martin. You'll find it in 51 subsection 2, the answers to all of it. But if you've got the red Constitution, please read the first 260 pages. Everything will fall into place in front of you. Then read the annotations all the way through. You see, we had smart people put our Constitution together. Very, very smart. They interpreted the Constitution a heck of a lot. G'day, Jelena. These people have no brains because they are stupidly thinking their level of intellect is going to wipe us out. Rob, I'm not going to answer that here. I will answer it, but I'll tell you now, Christopher John Dawkins was the Minister for Vaccinations, and if you look at some of the things that are coming out, in fact, ask Dr. William Bay his opinion of the vaccinations. I am not an expert in chemistry or those things, and it just has to stay how it is. Okay? I thank you for your time. I hope you'll listen to what I say. It's not an attack on Dr. William Bay, Michael O'Neill and Michael Griffith. I appreciate the work that you do. What I've done is a lot of years. I haven't been at it for a few years, and I understand that, Michael O'Neill, you've been a politician for a lot of years, but you've got to comprehend the fact I've studied the Constitution for over 50 years. I spent that time, and when people ask me a question, like I spent the whole weekend in dribs and drabs reading those 260 pages, the last of them on Tuesday for an old friend of mine who was here, so he could understand or comprehend the extremities of our Constitution and the authority. So, no, I can't because it's a different subject. There is other things I'd like to say, but for the reasons I just said, it is a subject that isn't before me. I don't want to make it that way. I want people to focus on the fact we can't vote. Not we shouldn't, we cannot, until they put lawful candidates there. And the only question of law is why not? They have to answer. They're the person exercising the authority. They have to state where it comes from. They can't do it. So thank you for your time.